Hey folks, are you worried about the 2024 presidential election? I know you are. I know you are because I talk to you. Whether you're in an airport and you run into me, or at a diner, or down the street, or at a shopping mall, wherever I go, everybody who talks to me is concerned about the elections, is concerned about 2024. Are you concerned about ballot measures? Well, you should be. Are you concerned about foreign influence in elections and in ballot measures? Well, you should be. Do you have the right to question election integrity and say, I want to make sure that these elections have the backing of the American people and that we have trust in it and that we go confidently into the election knowing that we have done everything we can to protect our elections? Absolutely, you have that right. No one should make you feel like an outcast or ostracized or pushed aside or like a conspiracy theorist just because you want to ensure the integrity of your elections. And you should question it. There's a very scary reality here. What if I told you that there was someone else involved in ballot initiatives, somebody foreign that was able to alter the outcomes of those ballot initiatives because they were basically utilizing foreign money to fund ballot initiatives in the United States? What if this person, and I know you're all thinking George Soros, that's not it. It might be a similar situation, but it's not the same person. What if this person was like, wow, I want to fundamentally change that Constitution, that US Constitution that's just driving me nuts. It's so antiquated. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I want to see what I can do to change this country. There is someone who is doing that. There is someone, and there's probably more than just someone. There's some ones, people with a lot of power that are doing this. What if non-citizens from around the world had an interest in American elections? Well, they do, and dropped big money to try to sway the outcome. Folks, I'm going to tell you the truth right now. It's not just a hypothetical. It's a reality. It is happening right now in the United States, and we have proof of it. Yes, according to a new report from Americans for Public Trust and the investigative journalist and executive director of Americans for Public Trust has blown the lid wide open on this, has done due diligence, has worked dotting every I, crossing every T, right? To ensure that you get the information that you need to protect your votes, your state, your county, your local municipality from these foreign adversaries that all they want to do is destroy this country. A single dark money group, listen to this, spent almost $100 million on statewide issue elections over the last several cycles. And guess what states they focused on most? Swing states. Absolutely. Swing states. I have the executive director of that watchdog group, Caitlyn Sutherland, on the show today, and we're going to break down who is behind that money. Boy, you are just going to be mind blown by this, how it has affected our elections and how we're going to fight back. But first, MyPillow. When Mike Lindell first launched MyPillow, it was solely a solution for one problem. But with the dedication of his team, they've expanded their offerings to include hundreds of products, folks, and to spread the word that they will not be part of cancel culture. They are hosting a $25 extravaganza. It's going on right now. You're not going to beat this. Use promo code Carter, CARTER, at mypillow.com and get the sale price and free shipping on orders over $75. You know, Macy May Buttercup is under my desk and she is sleeping on her MyPillow doggy bed. We've got MyPillow slippers at home, MyPillow sheets, MyPillow towels, My Pillow pillows, it's non-stop at the Carter household. Yes, My Pillows everywhere. You're not going to want to miss this deal. I'm telling you. Go to mypillow.com or call 800-685-7221 today to get on the $25 extravaganza today. Be sure to use code Carter, Carter, to get the sale price and free shipping on orders over $75. Call 800-685-7221 or go to mypillow.com, promo code Carter. Again, mypillow.com, promo code Carter. I am so happy to have Caitlyn Sutherland on the Sara Carter Show today. Caitlyn, you're the executive director for the Americans for Public Trust. Your report that just came out is explosive. It is so important too, and it's such a vital time for this report to come out because it gives Americans such an understanding of our electoral process, who the people are that are involved in it. I think I'm just in a state of shock after reading it. And we're going to go into that. So late last month, your watchdog group released that report with some shocking statistics. It's about foreign billionaires, folks, funding liberal ballot initiatives in America. Yes. You know, people have said this. I know all of you who listen to the Sara Carter Show, this is something that you are very concerned about, but it's hard to get tangible proof. Well, guess what? Caitlyn Sutherland did. While it is already illegal for foreign nationals to fund state, local, and federal elections, it is, listen to this, not illegal for them to fund ballot measures. Caitlyn, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
I got to tell you, it's shocking to me because I don't think I ever, and I, as an investigative journalist myself early on in my career, I would look at various topics or people would tell me something and I would say, well, that just can't be true. That can't be true. I mean, it's already illegal. How could they fund ballot measures? What tipped you off on this and what sent your investigative spidey senses running when you decided to do this report?
Oh gosh, I mean, there is just so much to dig in here. So thank you so much for having me on to talk about this very important topic. So what really tipped us off is when we realized that there was an individual, a foreign national who lives in Switzerland, also by his own admission, never wanted to become a US citizen, is sitting on about $5 billion in, net wealth. And he is using that to influence American politics and policy. So last summer in July, we released a separate report detailing how his hundreds of millions are flowing into everything, from, leftist candidates and causes, the extreme climate agenda, basically everything. And then we thought, what else? What else is this foreign national funding? What else is going on? And we've been talking a lot about the foreign influence loopholes that exist. And you highlighted that it is illegal for a foreign national to directly or indirectly influence our elections. It's also illegal for a foreign national to give to a candidate. But then when we realized that it is perfectly legal for a foreign national to donate to ballot issues, and we see the pivotal role that the left is doing to weaponize these ballot issues in 2024, it made us take a second look. And what we found is that Hans-Jörg Wyss, this foreign national, has funneled about $250 million to the 1630 fund. And then the 1630 fund has turned around and spent nearly $100 million on key ballot issues across 25 states.
That is just so incredible to me. It makes me feel like our government is and the American people are just being used. And we hear this over and over again. We've talked about the Open Society Foundation. Now it's Hans-Jörg Wyss, who if you would have said his name to me 3 months ago, I would have been like, who are you talking about? But it's the fact that it feels as though, and Elon Musk said this well, like these super evil villains that are out there saying how can we manipulate America, its people, to get the best for us. And in an effect, it's like trampling everything that we think we believe in. We think we have these elections where there's not really any interference, where the American people have choices. Instead, we're finding out that, well, maybe not. maybe not so quick. Maybe these elections and these ballot measures are there purposefully set up, and people are being funded to direct American policy in a certain direction that is certainly not the direction that the American people want.
That's right. So, everybody knows we got Soros on the left, we've got the Kochs on the right. People on the right and the left, use those as, the outside spending boogeymen. But what folks really need to talk about, and what we're talking about, is this Swiss billionaire. And yes, he is one of the most influential individuals in politics, yet really nobody knows his name. And that's by design. He has actually bragged that he is able to fund things and his name, quote, never appears. So yes, it is all by design that he does not want his name to be revealed.
Caitlyn, one quick thing. God bless you for revealing his name, just for putting his name out there. That's sometimes, I think, all it takes. Like, just put their names out there. These are people that hide in the shadows and go to dinner parties and laugh about us, because they think we're so stupid that we're never going to find out who they are. I'm sure you're on his lips at his dinner parties lately. Isn't that weird? You got Hans-Jörg Wyss is now talking about Caitlyn Sutherland at his billionaire dinner parties. Like, why didn't I ever see her coming? She was like a black swan event, coming out of the north and hitting me with a right hook. I don't even know. But, it's really these evil kind of villains that think that they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, there was so little about him in American press, right? He does not talk to American reporters. He ignores inquiries from New York Times and Associated Press. So we were actually able to get our hands on an autobiography written by his sister. And so that is where a lot of right? Because we're like, we have to know more about this individual. So his sister wrote, about his life, and we like to call it his manifesto. It has laid out his plans to use his billions to influence our politics. In the book, she lays out that he never wanted to become a citizen. He never obtained citizenship, and he doesn't want to be a citizen. Also in the book, she's laid out that he uses his foundations to influence policy. Again, that is illegal. You cannot directly or indirectly use your foreign funds to exert an influence. But let me tell you, one of the most alarming things that we found in this book about Hans-Jörg Wyss is that he admitted that it was his goal to reinterpret the American Constitution in light of progressive politics. That is a direct quote from the book. That is, I'm not exaggerating. There is no fluff to that. Those are his words. We got the book. It says it. It's laid out in our report. It's also been reported on by numerous press outlets. That is his goal. He wants to reinterpret the American Constitution. And so that, like you said, why is there a foreign national spending in our politics, our election? Well, he said it, right? And it makes actually talking about it fairly easy because we don't have to guess what their intentions are. He's told us he wants to reinterpret the American Constitution. He wants to make everything more liberal.
Do you think that Americans, and I think this is something that I've thought about covering stories for a long time, especially investigative pieces, or when we're dealing with like an enemy or an adversary of our nation, which I consider him to be one, especially since he's targeting our Constitution. Do you think it's hard for people, maybe not just Americans, to truly believe what their enemies are saying? Like, I know it's a lot of people say now, and especially in the intelligence communities and throughout, whether you're CIA or you're working for DEA or FBI, it's like, believe what your enemy says, because that's exactly what they want to do. But we always want to make an excuse for them. Like, they say it, but are they really capable of doing it? Can they really do harm? Let's talk about the facts that you uncovered. How much money was Hans-Jörg Wyss spending in America on these ballot initiatives? And what did he do? So
first off, he has actually bragged, again, to foreign media, because he won't talk to the American press, how much he's given privately, right? So he basically has said that he has given much more privately, which we will not be able to capture. So we are most likely completely undercounting the amount of dollars that have flowed into American politics. These are pretty conservative estimates, and he gives it to a variety of different causes. we've counted it, in total around $500 million. Of that, a
Wow.
$250 million has flown to, to the 1630 fund. And when they're spending, like you said,
And let's talk about that 1630 fund.
Yep.
Explain to the listeners what that is, because some of y'all out there probably don't know what the 1630 fund is, but it is very important that you know what it is. Caitlyn, talk a little bit about that.
Right. And again, most folks have never heard of the 1630 fund. It's a very little known group in DC, but man, do they have a big budget. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars each year. And why folks may never have actually heard of the 1630 fund, it's because most of the time that they are spending either on, television ads or issue advocacy campaigns, they use a variety of trade names. So you don't actually know that the money is coming from 1630 fund because it'll show up in Florida as Floridians for a fair shake, right? It'll show up as North Carolinians for a better economy, all the, keep Iowa happy, all these various trade names that make it seem like it's these like little local pop-up grassroots sounding names. So the fact that folks probably haven't heard of the 1630 fund isn't surprising because they're not saying paid for by 1630 fund. Oh, by the way, one of our number one donors is a foreign national. Oh, by the way, it's illegal for him to influence politics. So
exactly.
When we start pulling it all back, we can put it all together and show where the money is coming from and then where it's ending up.
Yeah. So absolutely. A great way of laying that out. And it is shocking how they trick you, because there's times where I'm watching, public service announcements or NGO announcements or Floridians, like you said, for this or so-and-so for that. And I'm thinking it's just a regular American grassroots group that is trying to get their political ideology across or, trying to inform the American public. But the 1630 fund is also funded by George Soros. I think people know his name very well now, not Hans-Jörg Wyss as well, but we're going to keep saying his name until they all remember it. They also support things like, abortion access, lessening of drug penalties, crime. When you think of like DAs or district attorneys that are reducing sentencing, that's what you're talking about, the 1630 fund. They believe in raising the minimum wage, automatic voter registration, a lot of progressive causes in their list. And those would be all fine and dandy if it wasn't a foreign funder doing this and we all knew who was pushing for it. But you're absolutely right, because it's this guy who's working on the destruction, folks, of our Constitution. That is the big issue. Are you concerned about the endless flood of illegal immigration at the southern border? How about the $1 trillion being added to the national debt every 100 days? It's no wonder thousands of hardworking, patriotic Americans, including myself, are learning how to protect and diversify their retirement savings with precious metals. That's why I've partnered with the top-rated company Goldco. I want you to take a listen to this current offer. Get a free 2024 wealth protection kit and learn how to possibly get $10,000 in bonus silver as a listener of this show while supplies last. They've helped people like you and me place over $3.5 billion in gold and silver. And what do I say all the time? You need to diversify, especially in these uncertain times. Protect your family's financial future and freedom. Get started today at Sara, SARA, or call 855-823-GOLD. Get your free gold kit from Goldco and learn how to get $10,000 in bonus silver. Sara, SARA, or 855-823-4653. That's Sara, SARA, or call 855-823-GOLD. Are the groups behind the liberal ballot initiatives forced to disclose that they are getting foreign money? I mean, do they ever do that voluntarily, or did you have to just dig like crazy?
So the way that we've been able to track how much of 1630 fund money is ending up in these ballot issues is that we took a look at the campaign filings for every single state, right? So we methodically checked to see, is 1630 fund spending in the state, yes or no? Michigan, almost 35 million. has, 1630 fund has spent in Michigan, Ohio, like over $15 million, Missouri,
Wow.
Nevada. I mean, and
So they
right
were
after,
looking at states. They're looking at swing states is what they're
oh,
doing.
yes, yes. I understand that, obviously, for the audio listeners, you can't take a look at the map that we produce, but I encourage everyone to look at our report on A Public Trust. You can take a look on Twitter, and you can see a map that identifies where this money is going. And let me tell you, you can tell right away, even if you don't know anything about politics, you know what a swing state looks like. It is so concentrated in the states where there's competitive Senate elections, right? It's a competitive presidential cycle. Oh yeah, swing states, like it is all very well coordinated and orchestrated because, these ballot issues, they often turn out the vote. Like you were saying, all those different issues, minimum wage or abortion, paid sick leave, a lot of times, the legislature, cannot pass these, right? Missouri is a great example. So what do these activists do? They say, well, we'll take it to the ballot instead, which is an incredibly expensive task to collect all the signatures, to get it on the ballot. Well, when you count, a foreign backer who can just write checks year after year to the 1630 fund, you have these well-funded efforts to get these liberal issues on the ballot. And a lot of times they are succeeding. We've seen these issues pass in Missouri and Nevada, Michigan, Ohio, that they are changing the state's constitution, right? So again, it goes back to his overall goal. He wanted to change the US Constitution, but ballot issues also rewrite the state's constitution as well.
You know what makes me wonder, Caitlyn, while you were talking, my wheels are turning in my head and I'm thinking to myself, like, these folks are very important to certain liberal, progressive lawmakers. I mean, you would think that it's going both ways. So I'm thinking to myself, like, some of the people in these states, these very radical progressive lawmakers that we now have in office, or people that push these agendas, I'm wondering, are they meeting, Hans Jorg on a trip over in Switzerland? Are they having lunch with him at a cafe? Are they getting money from him secretly? Are they moving money back? Because one of the biggest issues that came up when I was in Central America, and still now it's being investigated somewhat, but is the NGOs, right? So money gets recycled. Our US tax dollars ends up in NGO pockets through the United Nations. And then that money ends up in the pockets of other people that support those NGOs or the UN, or as it has been suggested many times overseas, that money gets recycled back into lawmakers' pockets and into their campaigns. Is that something that you're looking at? I mean, I know that's extensive and I may be throwing you on the spot there, but could that be possible?
Well, so let me tell you what we do know, which is going to shock you. And this is not the answer that you were expecting, is that Wyss has bragged that he has direct and indirect contacts in DC and the White House. So he's already said it, that he has contacts in the White House.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not an actual far-fetched question as far as, the delve with the NGOs and all that stuff. But yeah, he admitted, again, to the foreign media that he was like, yeah, I have contacts in DC and the White House. And so let me go one step further. You're like, well, who are the contacts? Well, it's, John Podesta, who works in the White House. He and Wyss co-founded a liberal think tank, the Center for American Progress.
I was going to ask you about that, the Center for American Progress. I was just looking at tweets coming out. There's a whistleblower that is talking right now about this issue with the Center for American Progress. Go. I'm excited.
Yeah, so everyone knows, like, okay, so there's an individual named John Podesta. He's a very well-known DC political
Hillary Clinton buddy.
Yeah,
worked for her forever.
Yes. So he said, well, I created this think tank, Center for American Progress. It serves as a big revolving door with each, Democrat administration. But what we found out, again, by getting the autobiography of Hans-Jörg Wyss, is that, oh, no, your co-founder was a foreign national. So, and he serves on the board. So John Podesta is back in the White House. He is leading, Biden's climate agenda. He's back in the White House.
Of course he is. Of course he's
he is.
leading the climate agenda, because that's what, John Podesta majored in. He majored in climate studies. He's an expert in the field. So of course, he and Hillary know everything about it.
Yes, of course.
They were trained by Al Gore. They were trained by Al Gore. You're too young, but you know what? They were trained by him.
Yeah. So now we have John Podesta basically in charge of handing out, all this taxpayer money that's, backing these like green companies, right? The next Solyndra in waiting, we'll just call it that. But he counts. I mean, he used to serve as an advisor. He worked for Hans-Jörg Wyss, right? So right before he rejoined the administration, John Podesta said on his financial disclosure, you have to say your previous employees to make sure there's no conflict of interest. Well, he disclosed, yep, I just finished a stint working for this foreign national. And now he's back in the White House. He's bragging he's got contacts. So, I mean, look, when you have someone that is so well, connected, tied with someone who is so well funded, right? You can really follow the dollars, which is what we've done, not just in this ballot issue report, but many, many issues going on in DC and across the country.
Yes. I would be looking into alleged pay for play. I would be looking into all kinds of possibilities that can blossom from that kind of relationship that seems so cozy between a foreign national that wants to change our constitution, like destroy our country, with his buddy sitting in the White House in the perfect position to do it. Because we saw what happened with COVID and how a national global emergency can emerge. And I'm not going to go to COVID. That's not what I'm talking about. But they also discussed at the World Health Organization climate. And, what would a national climate emergency look like? So, I mean, that is just way too cozy for my sovereignty, Caitlyn. That is just way too cozy for my sovereignty, right? And I think Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty he's also finding this way too cozy, right? So how do our lawmakers stop this? I know there's a bill out there, right? Thanks to you. And I'm really saying thanks to you, because without people actually actively handing this over to our lawmakers, they wouldn't be able to do it. They're just so overwhelmed that sometimes they don't see these things happening. You got to nudge them.
Yeah. So, we are happy to spend the time and to do the research and put out these educational and informative reports that often spur legislative change. We've seen this on the federal level, and we've also seen this in Ohio as well. So on the federal level, Senator Hagerty of Tennessee introduced legislation that would, among many things, close the foreign influence loophole that allows foreign nationals to fund ballot issues. Also, as we discussed, the reason why, and many people, to take a step back, may be thinking, well, how can a foreign national give to a ballot issue? Well, it's because they're not technically elections, right? So a foreign national can't give to an election, but if a state ballot issue isn't actually an election,
right?
Well, that's how it happens, right? So again, glaring loophole. We are so glad that Senator Hagerty has introduced legislation to fix that. It also do many other things that aren't considered elections that a foreign national can fund. Ballot harvesting, GOTV. These are all, you cannot win or lose an election without these like tentacles. But again, there's a glaring loophole. Foreign nationals can just fund it all. So we're glad to see that someone is taking the step to, put this forward and to get foreign nationals out of our politics.
So this could be, and you're absolutely right. You are just presenting the facts as they are, and whether or not the Senate or a lawmaker decides to take action, it's completely up to them. You're just setting the facts out and doing the investigation as an educational foundation. But let me ask you this. How difficult do you think it will be to get bipartisan support across the board? Do you think that even the Democrats, as well as Republicans, they could be guilty of it on another side of things? I don't know what's going on everywhere, but could they just be like, whoa, this is going to be way too much weird public pressure. We better vote for this in the right direction. Or if we say no, it might look kind of weird. We might want foreign money. I don't know.
Well, look, I think anyone who doesn't support getting foreign money out of our elections and politics, they look weird, right? They're on the
Yeah.
wrong side of this issue. Public polling has been done on this, and Americans overwhelmingly reject the notion that foreign nationals should be influencing our elections, right? Remember, it's already illegal. They can't influence our elections directly or indirectly, but there are just so many loopholes that allows it to happen. And let me tell you, we've seen this in Ohio on the state level, a bill to, again, make sure that foreign nationals aren't funding ballot initiatives just passed the Ohio Senate. And it was a party line, it was a party line vote. Every single Democrat voted to keep foreign money in ballot issues.
What?
Yeah, right? Yeah, we thought we were, because surely.
Wait, I was clapping. I feel so unknowledgeable right now. I was like, wow, she's going to tell me something good. Something good happened in Ohio. Nope, it did not.
Well, the bill passed. Republicans did pass it, but it wasn't over, it wasn't, a unanimous decision. Republicans and Democrats came together and said, yes, we want to get foreign money out of politics.
Right.
No, it was just the Republicans.
So does that tell you, like,
well,
like they want to get that foreign money? They don't want to fill out. Did you tell them maybe they should fill out a FARA, every single one of them, just in case they're working for a foreign national?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you start following the money, which Americans for Public Trust does, and as the report lays out, you realize you're like, well, if the 1630 fund, who counts a foreign national as one of their top donors, is the one giving to these liberal and left-leaning politics, do they not want their funds to dry up? If you ban one of their top donors, is that why they're opposing it? So we certainly hope that both sides can come together on this very important issue. But it does make you wonder why someone would oppose this bill. Because let me tell you that, the right-leaning 501c4s in DC, many of them already have a voluntary ban on accepting money from foreign nationals. So, the top C4 on the right, One Nation, has an internal policy. They say no money from foreign nationals. So does American Action Network, no money from foreign nationals. 1630 Fund, the number one 501c4 on the left, clearly does not have any sort of ban on accepting money from forein nationals.
No, because they actually want to give they want to give America to the foreign nationals. They don't want, they hate, they're knocking down the flag whenever they can. They're just like, you know what? We're done with this. You guys are so antiquated. That Constitution is old news. Throw it away and get with the program, people. We're going to be one just global love fest.
Yeah. Think about it. 1630 Fund, in addition to these ballot issues, they want to expand the Supreme Court, right? Yeah. They're like 9 seats, not enough. Make it 13.
25.
Yeah. Why not?
100. 100 liberals, 100 just super libs.
Yeah, they want to nuke the filibuster. They want to ban also regular household appliances. They hate gas stoves.
Caitlyn, you're going outside to scrub your clothes tomorrow. That is what Hans York says. Hans York is sitting right now. He's so mad at you. He's like, if I get my hands and I get my way with Caitlyn, she will be scrubbing her clothes. Yeah, you're going to be and riding your bicycle.
Yeah, right. Everyone should ride their bicycle to work. And
except for Hans.
No gas stoves. But really, it's important to talk about because, someone may be listening and say, okay, state ballot issues. I don't live in a state that has a lot of competitive ballot issues. This isn't impacting me. It's just like, okay, but I want everybody to know that if you're not as passionate about following the money of state ballot issues like we are, okay, you should know what else the 1630 Fund is up to, okay? Because you may really like your gas stove, okay? You may really like 9 justices on the Supreme Court, right? You may really like
your Ford truck.
Yeah. You might like putting gasoline in your vehicle. So there are many different areas that this foreign money is ending up. And it is just these ballot issues, it is just such a small part of it. Now, when I say small, it's still $100 million, right? So small by relative terms. But in the lens of what is going on today and how much of this outside money is influencing what you are doing, I just want everyone to take a step back and realize how much of this is coming from a foreigner who has absolutely no business meddling in our elections, politics, or policy.
100%, 100%. You said something there that reminded me, a friend of mine, Yoko in Japan, contacted me, and she was saying when she had seen a story about China's meddling in the United States, like on various issues with land purchases or technology, and even in like public policy, she was saying, Sarah, that's interesting because that's the same problem that we're having in Japan in certain areas, because what is happening is that major players like China aren't doing the big things that you would think of. They're going in and affecting local elections. They're going in and building relationships with people on the local scale, because they figured once you own the local and the regional, and the counties, then you can control the state. And then you can end up controlling the bigger picture. And I think, Caitlyn, that is exactly what you discovered here with these. That's why Hans-Jörg Wyss is not wasting any time in targeting ballot measures, because he knows how important that is, regardless of the scale. The scale is actually more important. And I think you, with your super spidey senses, you picked up on that, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Who's doing this? And the fact that you found it all, and his sister, do you think his sister is like not even invited anymore to dinner? Hans-Jörg's sister is like on Hans-Jörg's like caca list. She's on the list right now. She's not invited over for dinner anymore.
We joke about that all the time. I bet he's like, why? Her name is Hetty. Why would you write a book about me, right? Yeah. So we have obviously no idea, but I don't.
But it's good to think about. It's like she's like, well, you made all that money, and I needed to make something.
Yeah, right.
I had to put up with you when you were a kid in your maniacal villain ways.
Yeah, so she was just probably so excited to get that someone bought her book, right? It's like, as maybe she's like a struggling author, and oh my gosh, somebody bought my book, and they're like, oh no, the wrong person bought the book, and now they have weaponized it against us, and we've been able to find out all this new information that wasn't initially available when he came onto the scene. So we read the book.
You're amazing.
We are, taking a look at where this money is going. It's ballot issues. It's many other things. And you know what? It's May. We've got a lot of left of 2024.
That's right.
Right. So it is nearly.
So I'm thinking you have a lot more biographies that you are reading at Americans for Public Trust. If you have a biography out there, Caitlyn is reading it. She is reading it. She's with a fine-tooth comb. She's got little dots and marks following up.
And we're taking a look at where the money is going, because, many of these ballot campaigns are just really kind of in the early stages. They're trying to get signatures, they're trying to get on. These aren't going to be on the ballot until November. So there's still a lot of time for money to be pouring in. And yes, the number is sitting just shy of $100 million. I think by when 24 is all said and done, we're surpassing $100 million spent on, from 1630 and their foreign backed cash on these ballot issues.
Oh my gosh, Caitlyn, you are so welcome on the show. Anytime you want to come and discuss this, you have just done such a phenomenal job of painting this picture and really giving the American people like actual tangible evidence of what is going on and the people and the players behind it. You should be so proud of yourself, and as well as Americans for Public Trust. You guys are awesome. Where can our listeners go to help support you and Americans for Public Trust so that you can continue the hard work that you're doing for us? Where can we go?
So, first, you can go on our website, americansforpublictrust.org. We're also active on Twitter at @publictrust.
Remember, folks, I say it all the time. This is about you and me getting involved. learning what we can do to help put a stop to this. I hope you support Caitlyn Sutherland. I want to thank her for coming on the show again today. Thank you, Caitlyn, for all your hard work. Please make sure you're subscribed to the Sara Carter Show on your favorite podcast app. It helps us keep on all these fantastic guests and really gives us a boost in our algorithm. If you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, give us a like and a follow as well. Thank you so much. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless our upcoming elections. God only knows we need it. And God bless the great state of Texas.